Well, hello, Principal Beverly. I'm so glad to see you this afternoon. What did you want to talk about today?
Recently, I've participated in Coaching 101 and wanted to discuss how it has impacted my feedback with teachers in my school.
So you've been having coaching conversations and giving them feedback. Tell me a little more about the feedback you're looking for.
Prior to going to Coaching 101, my feedback with teachers had been very prescriptive. Seeing myself as the instructional leader in the building, I was going into classrooms, doing walkthroughs, doing observations, and my feedback was generally what I wanted to see happen in classrooms. Trying to take a more of an authoritative instructional role.
So your training in Coaching 101 has been impactful for you and your teachers, in that you're less prescriptive, focused with what you thought should happen in the classroom. But now you're seeing that needs to change. So as you're thinking about the skills you've gained in Coaching 101, what are some of the impact that that's had on your teachers and on their instruction?
I would say that my teachers have become more open, and I think the Coaching 101 process has allowed for me to want to be more collaborative, and the skills that I learned in Coaching 101 have provided me with a skill set for mediating thinking and going deeper with conversations with my teachers, specifically around their instructional practice, and giving them a space to take ownership of both their strengths and their challenges in the classroom.
So using this new feedback you've learned in coaching, you've been able to give them some space, collaboration, and also ownership has been important in your building. Tell me specifically about some of the skills you're going to use from Coaching 101 that you think will make an impact on the teachers.
Since going to Coaching 101, I've recognized that there are more valuable and more efficient and effective ways of providing feedback to my teachers. Having a positive presupposition, understanding the strengths of my teaching staff, building those strengths up, in addition to the process for providing meaningful coaching conversations, including pausing and paraphrasing and probing for deeper understanding.
So there are several skills that you learned in Coaching 101 that you found helpful with your teachers, using positive presuppositions to show value, pausing, paraphrasing, and probing, asking different types of questions. So Principal Brian, as you think about some of the feedback you've given, what have been some challenges for you giving that feedback with the teachers?
So again, going through Coaching 101 made me much more reflective of my own practices as an instructional leader of a building. When I think about what I want for my students, I would want for teachers to not be prescriptive in their instruction, create an environment that facilitates student learning. And so in order to practice what I preach and what I believe, I had to do the same with my teachers. I had to create an environment that allows them to recognize solutions, to build their own capacity for driving improvements in instruction. And in order to do that, I had to be less prescriptive and much more collaborative.
So these coaching skills have helped you be more collaborative, less demanding, patience, and also listening to your teachers. And you're seeing using some of your PLCs and also some of your instructional coaches as a way to increase capacity in your building. So at the end of the school year, after you've done this feedback, say in June, what might you expect teachers to say about the new experience they've had with you giving this different type of feedback?
I would hope that at the end of the year, we had created a culture of openness, of collaboration. There would be excitement for the year to come, that we had created space for teachers to learn from one another in order to build on their strengths and improve on some of their challenges, allow for a culture of shared understanding and ownership by everyone in our school community to drive improvements in instruction.
So you're hoping that they'll see shared understanding, a shared ownership. So Principal Beverly, if you could think of one additional skill that you might use to increase the possibility that that will happen at the end of the year, what skill or what goal might that be?
I think it's relational trust. Again, going back to Coaching 101, relational trust is such a vital and essential component of a coaching conversation. And so I think that continuing to develop relational trust building skills in myself as I relate to those teachers and those staff in my building, that I think that that's an area that will continue to need to be addressed. Again, we have a long history of me being very prescriptive, very authoritative, and I'm trying to turn that corner. And I know that time is one component, but I think that there are some skills that I could continue to develop with regards to relational trust that could be beneficial to my staff.
One thing you can do to work on, to hone more, is your work with relational trust. And in our relationship for the rest of the year, I'd like to work with you on that and continue the conversation about how you can build trust and appreciation among your teachers so that this feedback works well for you this school year. And we can set a time to talk about that.
I absolutely look forward to that.
Okay, we'll talk about it next time.
I thought coaching by my principal was just wonderful. It was an experience I've never had before as a teacher. The principal came in and observed my lesson, and then afterwards I got a chance to sit down and talk to the principal. And the principal was so good about it. He asked me how I thought the lesson had gone, and I told him that I thought, well, part of the lesson went well, and there were other parts that I wasn't so sure about. And he actually helped me to think about what I had done and reflect on it, and asked me questions that helped me to reflect on what I wanted to do differently next time, or what I might do the same way. And actually, one time he came in while I was giving an assessment, and just my being there with him made me think in terms of reflecting on what I was doing. And I was watching the children as they answered the questions. And it came to me how important it was for them to always understand and be able to verbalize what it is that they're learning. They really need to know what they're learning. And that came from my working with the principal and him encouraging me to think about what I was doing. The way he paraphrases what I say to him, and the way he then probes with questions and gets me to think about my own practice is something I've never experienced before. And it's a whole new thing for me to take the time and have the encouragement to look at what I'm doing.